I do want to turn and talk with you about this battle over the border and a kind of twist on the argument, because it's really important to keep focused on the fact that we do not have a secure southern border. We do not have a secure southern border for a variety of reasons. It's been building up over the last, I don't even know how to count it, 10, 20, 30, 40 years. But 3 points about this. Number one, President Trump tweeted out, and you probably saw this last Friday, in a series of 3 tweets that just were kind of how he does that string-along tweet. He basically said, you know, Mexico has better laws than we do about securing their border. Congress must act, change our weak immigration laws. Number 2, if Mexico doesn't stop all illegal immigration coming to the U.S. through the southern border, President Trump said, I will be closing the border on large sections of the border next week. And he talked about they just take our money. So he targeted Mexico, but he's basically saying he may actually close the border. And of course, many in the American left who don't support building the wall, who don't support funding border security, who do support sanctuary cities, who do think that illegal aliens should be able to vote, who do not favor any kind of strengthening of the border, all of those leftists were out of their mind when they actually pictured President Trump really delivering on the promise of closing the border. Now, he hasn't said he's going to do it, but he's getting closer. So the first point is the predictions now in this country over the next 12 months is that we will have somewhere in the range of 1 million to 1.5 million more illegal immigrants cross our southern border. If you can't see that as an invasion, you just don't want to deal with the truth. President Trump was very firm in saying he's not going to let it continue. It was a primary point of his campaign. It was a primary promise to voters. So he's talking about doing this. And, you know, he may end up doing it for a while until he gets the attention of the Mexican government and the attention of the U.S. Congress saying, we're going to do something about this. So very serious about closing the border. Number 2, that tweet by President Trump and the follow-on conversations and media interviews brought out the argument of the left that Trump is guilty of, and to use the language of the formerly sane and now just anti-Trump, non-Trump, obnoxious commentator Jonah Goldberg. He wrote a column called "The Dangers of Unchecked Nationalism." What Jonah Goldberg is basically arguing is for Trump to be signaling closing the border, that he's really crossing the line, or might be crossing the line, into dangerous racial nationalism. So I want to just help you think this through, help us think this through, get very, very clear about this. The nationalism that occurred in Germany, in Nazi Germany. The term nationalism gets thrown around with lots of definitions. In Nazi Germany, Hitler was saying, you know, he wanted the Aryan race, a blonde, blue-eyed Germanic race. That is ugly, evil, ethnic or racial nationalism. He used it to justify the slaughter of millions of Jews, of people in the clergy, of Catholics, of non-Aryan people. He used it, that argument that the Aryan race was superior, to commit among the most horrific actions in all of world history. And yes, I know there are evil tyrants who killed more people, but right now I'm making this point about Hitler. This idea of nationalism, in Hitler's meaning of the term, white nationalism, is ugly and evil and unjustifiable and has nothing at all to do with what President Trump is talking about. Nationalism, the idea of America actually being a country with secure borders, with borders that are enforced, with borders that people who want to enter our country need to understand they have to go through. They have to enter America legally. It is an idea of having the identity of our very country. In fact, the very identity of America, the meaning of America, it's a country that is based on ideas. America is a country based on the ideas our founders wrote in the profound documents, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, the founding ideas, the ideas spelled out more deeply in the writings of our founders and the Federalist Papers. has nothing at all to do with race. Nothing to do with skin color, nothing to do with ethnicity. It has 100% to do with ideas. You can't hold on to a country based on ideas if you permit people to enter this country illegally, to remain here illegally, to fail and refuse to follow our laws, to fail to pursue citizenship or some other legal status of being here. It is the ugliest and most unjustified accusation by Jonah Goldberg and anybody else talking about this, the idea that Trump's saying we're going to have a secure border, and if that means a border wall or closing the border, then so be it. Nationalism, as that word, that word would be to be applied correctly to President Trump, it is about the idea of holding on to America, the great human experiment in human liberty, which cannot exist without borders, without laws, without every person in this country having some legal status to be here. It is not just a lie to accuse President Trump of racism because he wants a secure border or because he may close the border to get security at the border. It is also an ugly, ugly accusation about the identity, the meaning of America. America has been the most welcoming country in the world throughout our history. In fact, I read data recently of all the refugees in the world, all these refugees fleeing violence and war and moving to other countries. America has the most in numbers and the highest percentage as compared with all other countries in this world. We are already generous. We are already trying to help the world. But the idea of accusing the president, any president, of ugly, racist nationalism because they want a secure border is truly an evil, just a nefarious, evil, unjustifiable accusation. And the idea, if you want to, it's one thing you want to have a debate about, should we close the border entirely, or can we fix it with building a wall? Can we fix it with more funding? Can we fix it with expanding the Border Patrol? That's an argument to have. That's a policy discussion. How do we secure the border? If you don't agree the border should be secure, you don't agree America should exist. America, the idea. America, the precious. America, the exceptional, which must have as a fundamental factor in what it is, it must have a secure border, a set of laws that apply to everyone, rules about when you come here, what status you're allowed to pursue, and the idea that if you have no legal right to be here, you need to go home. There is nothing racist about that. There's everything right about that, standing up for the idea of preserving America, which is exactly what this show is always about.